Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? It's your boy Vic. We're here with Ken at Blackout. Now, I know that a lot of you out there are following our content, Ken's content on Instagram, on other social media platforms. And when it's instructed, it's very simple to follow along. But for those of you who don't always have time to access the education that we're trying to provide, and you're trying to be able to do something that's safe, efficient, and effective on your own, well, we want to make sure that we're providing information for you guys as well. So Ken, let me ask you a question. For somebody who is looking to do their own programming, their own exercise program design, what are the basic components that you would recommend the average person incorporate?
I like to say, especially if strength is a focus, and strength is never a weakness, it always should be, treat your body how it's meant to move. So all the way we program, regardless of what our goal is we program based on fundamental movement patterns. Those would be the hip hinge, the squat, the push, the pull, and some type of locomotion exercise as well, just to get the body moving.
Okay. Now, I think a lot of people have a misconception also, in addition to what components should lay the foundation of any exercise routine.
Yep.
I think people also have a misconception that workouts have to be these 2-hour grueling sessions, that more is always more. Do you agree with that? Do you think that's the problem that you run into?
More is not better, better is better. So we like to say, train to your abilities, but also understand what your goal is.
Yeah.
Right? If you have a strength goal, let's get stronger safely. Understanding that if you don't have to be dogmatic in your approach to fitness or whatever program you're following, you can, hey, I like the barbell stuff, I can integrate some kettlebell stuff, I can integrate some dumbbell stuff, whatever works best for you and how your body particularly moves.
And I think that that's a key point, is the way that you're put together is not the same as any other individual. So you have to, there is a certain amount of trial and error maybe that needs to take place. And generally speaking, if you have the ability to do so under the guidance of a professional, that's always suggested and recommended. But for those of you who are familiar with basic movement patterns and are following what we've discussed so far, why don't we give them a few examples of what we mean by a hip hinge, a pull, a push, so on and so forth. So what we'll do is we'll give you some examples real quick, so that if you ever are in a pinch and you want to try to put your own program together, even if it's just for the day, that you are checking off the fundamental boxes that ought to be checked off, and you're keeping in mind at all times safety first.
So for the hip hinge movement pattern, you have a few different deadlift variations. We're going to start with our basic kettlebell deadlift. So Vic is going to make sure that the balls of his feet, or the midsole of his shoe, is right outside the horns of the kettlebell, so to keep that kettlebell right underneath his center of gravity. From here, he's going to hinge at the hips and let his hands find the bell. He's going to pull his shoulders in his back pocket, make sure his lats are engaged to protect his spine. Also important, the deadlift is a push. So Vic is going to push his entire footprint, both of his feet prints, through the floor and stand tall and drive his hips towards the bell. And go. Make sure, hold tight here for a second, make sure at the top of your deadlift, you're bracing your abs like you're ready to take a punch, and you're squeezing your glutes like you're pinching a quarter, or trying to stop yourself from going to the bathroom. And bell down, one more, and down. Good, there's your kettlebell deadlift. All right, all of the rules of the kettlebell deadlift apply to the barbell. So this is called a conventional deadlift. Vic is gonna cover his shoestrings with the barbell. So he's gonna make sure that the barbell is right on top of his shoestrings. From here, he's gonna hinge at the hips, let his hands find the bar, pull his shoulders into his back pocket, his chest is up, his lats are engaged, and again, he's gonna drive his hips to the bar and stand tall, perfect posture at the top. Good. And relax, good. Third deadlift variation is the Romanian deadlift, or RDL. So Vic is gonna hinge at the hips, let his hands find the barbell. One motion, he's gonna get that bar off the ground, chest is up, squeeze his glutes. Now from here, he's gonna hip hinge, keep that bar close to his body, but only come down to mid-shin, then drive his hips back up, squeezing his glutes hard at the top. Most important thing is to make sure you keep your entire footprint through the floor, 10 toes down, squeezing your glutes and activating those abs like you're trying to take a punch at the top. Good work. Your kettlebell swing is also a hip hinge. If your goal is primarily fat loss or conditioning, I would swap out the kettlebell the deadlift for the swing, or you can do both of them. But the kettlebell swing, again, a hip hinge exercise, but it's also very, very good for fat loss and conditioning. Give us 10, Vic. Get tall, let that bell float. You notice he looks just like the deadlift position, except for his arms are extended straight forward, because it's also a hip hinge, and it looks the exact same. Good work. Kettlebell swing. All right, the squat, fundamental movement pattern. We're just gonna do a body weight squat. Most important thing is, we like to say, all of the good shit happens at the bottom. So making sure you're achieving full depth, but also making sure you achieve it properly. So Vic is gonna stand nice and tall, his feet are a little bit wider than hip width apart. For our body weight squat, on his way down, he's gonna extend his arms straight out, and as he stands tall, he's gonna bring his arms by his side. And squat down nice and low for me, Vic. And up, and down, and up. One more time, down. Hang out here for a second. Notice when he squats down, at the bottom of the squat, his hips, the crease of his hip is lower than the top of his knee, and stand tall. I like to say, if at the bottom of your squat, if you had a marble, you put that marble in the center of your knee, it would roll backwards, not forwards. Body weight squat. All right, goblet squat. Now, you can hold the bell either upside down or right side up, totally up to you. Vic's gonna keep his elbows tight to his body as he squats down nice and low. Elbows to his VMO, nice, long, tall spine, and then stand tall. And then back down, and up, and relax. You can do one more if you want to. He wants to do one more. And down, and then up, good. There's your goblet squat. Double kettlebell front squat. If you want to increase the resistance, use 2 kettlebells instead of 1. This is a double kettlebell front squat. We're gonna start by doing a clean, just like we would do a swing. So Vic is gonna hinge at the hips, let his hands find the ground, pull his shoulders into his back pocket. Now it's important that when he cleans the kettlebells that he ends in a tight front rack. So I'm gonna cue him by saying, hinge like we were doing a swing, but end in our front rack position. Imagine that you have a $100 bill between your elbows and your rib cage when you're standing tall. So hike, and then stand tall, clean to your waist, good. So his elbows are down, tight fist for me. And squat down nice and low, and up, good, and down. Just do a couple more. He's making sure he stays a nice, long, tall spine, and down, and up. One more, and down. Now safely put the bells back down to the ground, and cool. Take that. All right, so pushes. So for your pushing movement pattern, we got a horizontal push, then we have a vertical push. Push-ups, bench press, dumbbell bench press. What we're gonna show here is a dumbbell floor press. So Vic is gonna lay flat on his back, dumbbells in hand. I'll grab this other one, my friend. Vic's gonna lay flat on his back. I'm actually gonna give you a few different variations here. So the first variation is gonna be with his legs straight out, heels on the ground, and he's gonna just give me 3 presses, please, sir. Try to keep your core engaged. You notice he's keeping his elbows tight to his body, not really flared out. Good. Second variation, knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Take your hips up in the air for me. Squeeze your glutes, please. This is with a glute bridge. Elbows come down to the ground. Just 3. Good. Butt down. Take your legs in the air vertical. Take your head and shoulders off the ground. Let your legs halfway down toward the ground. You feel any pressure on your lower back, bring your legs higher, not lower, and then give me 3 more floor presses from here. This is our hollow position floor press. We've made this challenging without increasing the weight, just by making this core more engaged. Relax. Give it a shot. And the pulling movement pattern. You got plenty of options. You have a TRX row, you have dumbbell rows, bent over rows. From a vertical alignment, you have pull-ups. 1-arm pull-ups, badasses, chin-ups, so many different things you can do. One thing we're gonna show you is an underutilized exercise, is the 1-arm row. So Vic is gonna take us through various progressions here, starting with our basic tripod. So he's gonna start with one hand on the box, the other hand is on the dumbbell, keeping a flat back. I like to say, imagine you got a cup of coffee on your back, you don't wanna spill it. Just give us 3 rows here, my man. And relax. Good. This next version, we're gonna lose the box. He's gonna take away a base of support, and he's gonna go into a split lunge position. So same hand, he's gonna step back and go from here. He's just using his hand on his opposite leg to support himself. That's a little bit more advanced. You want to make it a little bit more challenging, go into a plank position on a box. So from here, both legs are going to be back. He's going to be in a plank position. Shoulders are square, and he's going to row from here. So you really want to challenge yourself, get that core fired up. Neutral, head up for me. There you go. Do your rows from a plank position. And last but not least, we all need some type of conditioning. Our heart is a muscle too, so we want to train our heart. A good way we like to do that is just by basic walks. We got farmer's walks where we're carrying 2 dumbbells, kettlebells, whatever it may be beside you. Rack carries, overhead carries, but some type of carry locomotion component should be the end of a good workout. So our basic farmer's walk, Vic is going to pick up both dumbbells, and he's literally going to think runway model tall, arms fully extended by his side. Dude, your veins are popping out all over the place. What's going on, man?
It's called
And then he's
skinny
gonna-
boy problems.
And then he's going to take a walk, farmer's walk. Dude, you're a nurse's dream, my man. That's our basic farmer's walk. So you do it for about 30, 45 seconds with a load that's challenging you. And there you go to build that heart up to and to add the locomotion component to your workout. Work, my man.
I'm gonna leave that.
Get out.